Welcome one and all to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. Well, as you guys are able to tell, today we are taking a look at the Prime Universe version of Skyquake.
I am here on a mission assigned to me by my one master, Megatron.
But as far as jet mode goes, I think that when we look at it, it looks pretty slick, it looks pretty clean. One thing that I do notice is that as you get farther back on the jet mode, this is where they have started to blend a little bit of that future pre-tooling in there. Because from this mold right here, not only are we going to get the Generation 1 version of Skyquake, but they'll more than likely do the Machine War Starscream as well as King Atlas. Now if you're looking at this and thinking, man, that's an insane amount of firepower, well, you would not be wrong, because not counting the boosters back here, this boy has 9 ports. And as you can see, if you were to plug guns and blast effects in every one of them, you could get something kind of insane. Now granted, one of those ports is for his minigun, which, you know, as we know, does go on the bottom of his jet mode, but still it counts. But I just had to see what it looked like. So I see a lot of people address this feature, but they don't go into full depth all the time. The thing that they are referencing is something that appeared on the original Skyquake, which he had a giant periscope sticking out his rear end. So, dependent upon which jet you would actually stick on top of him, when you looked through the periscope, it actually would show a different scene. Again, dependent upon whichever jet or thing that you plugged into the top of the bigger figure. As if you can see in that jet booster, they actually have a little bit of amber light piping, which is again to homage that feature on the original Skyquake. But because they didn't want to have a giant just periscope sticking out of his rear end, I appreciate that they modeled it to look similar to the other 2 boosters or rockets that we have on his back end. So while that's actually a really kind of cool feature, I have no nostalgia for it. But you know what I do have nostalgia for? That would actually be for his twin brother, Dreadwing. The thing is we've seen how sleek and slick this new guy is, which we're gonna get a Dreadwing repaint of this. I mean, that's a given. I'm just hoping that maybe they rock some of the deco that we see on Dreadwing when they repaint it, like the Decepticon emblems there. On this mold, it would look really, really sick. So, enough about vehicle mode. Let's move on and see how our boy fares in his awesome robot mode. And Skyquake is not one to waste the opportunity to get right into the action. As you can see, here he is blasting Bulkhead, with Bulkhead being able to deflect it, but just barely. And I gotta say that this guy looks awesome with his weapons. You know, that's the one thing that I noticed about him and his twin, is that even in the show, he had more of a minigun sort of weapon, whereas he had just a solid cannon. So I'm kind of interested to see if whenever we get the Dreadwing repaint of Skyquake, if they give him a gun that's more in line with this, as opposed to this. When you look at the feet, the lower legs, the upper legs, the crotch area, and then of course we knew the chest was different along with the arms. But it's really when you get to the shoulder pads and the head, that's really the only similarity, because even the wings are drastically different, whereas you can see the Dreadwings kind of point down, whereas Skyquakes are pointing up. And really, like I said, that's really the only similarity. But when you compare the 2 boys' heads together, you can see that again, Prime has more of that artistic kind of sweeping flourish to the style of the head. So that is kind of interesting that the only thing that makes this guy Prime Skyquake is that, again, the head, the shoulder armor, and his colors. And aside from that, every other detail on him is drastically different from the way that his CG model appeared in Prime. However, it is the trend that we've seen pretty firmly established whenever they've tried to basically make a Prime version of a character. We know the real world reason, like we stated earlier, is that this guy has got to pull triple to double duty after being the Prime version of the character. However, we have to pick up on the squabble that we left off at the very end of Metalhawk's video, where him and Skyquake were getting ready to have a little bit of a brouhaha on their own. Yet, before we jump into that, though, I think we have to discuss his weapon. In his hand, it appears diminutive. And it also has to collapse up, as you saw earlier, to fit within his minigun. He needs something a little bit more size appropriate. So let's get that garbage out of here. Now see this? This right here fits this guy. The other thing that I wanted to go ahead and address on this guy is the fact that his arms don't lock into anything. And I guess that's to accommodate the minigun, but it is just kind of a feature that we're not accustomed to on a lot of Transformers. And things do not look so good for our boy Metal Hawk, because with Skyquake being a leader class, he just has the bulk and the power to just put this Voyager class dude in his place. In which we can see that Metal Hawk has been forced down to his very knees by the sheer might and power of this boy. Yet Bulkhead comes in for the saving hit that brings even the mighty Skyquake to bended knee. However, we see that our boy is not so easily put down, as he takes flight ever so slightly off the ground and still engages his enemies before deciding to dip out because there's nothing more to be gained from the destruction of 2 measly Autobots. Well, despite the fact that I am a Prime fan, the fact that he looks very little like his Prime self doesn't bother me. If you're a Prime fan and this does not suit or satiate that desire to have your screen accurate Skyquake, I get it. And I'm not disparaging you for that. I totally understand it. If they did the same thing to my Beast Wars boys, you bet I would be throwing a fit. So I get it. However, that being said, that was our look at the Legacy Evolution version of Skyquake. And until next time, guys, we'll see you in another review.